Hey everybody, it's Boardman21 and today's build is going to be an updated version of the ward-based minion for the Necro. Now in the last one we did, we proved that it could do 200 waves plus in the arena. You could get 150,000 ward, but we made quite a few changes to that since, and we pushed it in the Monolith of Fate, and we've pushed over a 160 streak in there. It did take some time, it's a bit of a slow build, but its power is undeniable. Even at wave, or not wave, but streak 150 plus, we were having things that were one-shotting themselves. You'd go up against a boss and it would instantly one-shot itself. The build itself is super easy to survive, you just have to pay attention. It's a pretty interactive build where you're constantly busy running around trying to keep all of your minions in one spot and doing what you want them to do, and stances when they come out should make that a lot easier. This build will be nerfed if Rip Blood changes at all with the way that the ward works on minion hit, but as it is now, this build has the potential to be the #1 pusher in the Monolith of Fate, although it will probably take you a really long time to get there. Even though we pushed to 164 streak in the mono before we died from lack of paying attention, not from actually not being able to survive, we found that it took hours and hours and hours to get there. It wasn't like a death seal where you just ran through. Trying to keep your minions with you and working your way through the maps took quite some time. However, we did make changes to gear, we made changes to which skills we're using, and we think that you'll like it. I'm going to go ahead and go through the skills and then give you some gameplay. And for skills, we're running Summon Skeleton Mage, Summon Wraith, Rip Blood, Transplant, and Summon Skeleton. For the Summon Skeleton Mage, we have 4 points in Splintered Dominion, 5 points in Leech Life, 1 point in Death Knights to change it to Death Knights, and 1 point in Death Blossom. We have 5 points in Cellar Mortis, 3 points in Grey Merchant so that they have a huge critical strike chance, and they get 15% of their maximum health healed on a critical strike. This helps with their survivability massively. And 1 point in Order of Death for that +1 maximum number of skeleton mages. For Summon Wraiths, we want this to where we could have the most Wraiths as possible, as that's all that mattered. So we went with 1 point in Locus of Resurrection, 2 points in Haunting, 2 points in Dark Scythe, 1 point in Echoes Inside, 5 points in Stygian River, 3 points in Army of Wraiths, 2 points in Grave Reality, and 4 points in Delay the End. We also run the either Flame Wraiths or we run the Putrid Wraiths with the idols. So with those idols active, they actually have a slower decay rate, and you can have 1 or 2 more over the course of the entire casting of them. For Rip Blood, we're using this so that we can get the maximum ward when we target our minions. That is how we survive with this build. The Necro doesn't have great defense, and it's completely dependent upon how much ward it has with how far you'll go. We have 1 point in Eviscerate, 2 points in Crimson Flood, 1 point in Blood Infusion, and 1 point in Infused Frenzy. Up to the top right, we have 2 points in Arcane Absorption, 1 point in Rip Spirit, and 1 point in Arcane Fortress for the health that's granted to be turned into ward granted. We have 1 point in Hemomancer, 5 points in Quenching, 3 points in Mana Feast so that we can get all of our mana back relatively easy, 1 point in Marrow Drinker, and 1 point in Hematology. For Transplant, we have 2 points in Acolyte's Fervor, 3 points in Dance of Blood. You do not need to have these as it is bugged, and when you transplant, these 3 Rip Bloods will not target your minions. 2 points in Sadism, 3 points in Pale Blood, 2 points in Bone Armor, 3 points in Last Laugh, 1 point in Simulacrum, 1 point in Purgatory, and 3 points in Ivory Court. And for Summon Skeleton, we have 2 points in Unbound Necromancy, 1 point in Gravewalkers, 2 points in Marrow Tap, 5 points in Necrotic Conviction, 1 point in Hollow Walkers, 1 point in Shambling Steel. We have 1 point in Bone Armor, 4 points in Impatience, 2 points in Unholy Rage, and 1 point in Marrowwalkers. And with the Bone Overnodes, we don't have them casting it on us. You can put 1 point there if you want, but we just wanted them to cast it on themselves, and they take 40% less damage, and this has 100% uptime if you maximize the 2 nodes. For passives, we have 30 points in the base Acolyte class, with 1 point in Blood Aura, 5 points in Blood Pact, 1 point in Crimson Gluttony, 3 points in Stolen Vitality, 8 points in Forbidden Knowledge, 5 points in Dark Rituals, 1 point in Soul Aegis, 1 point in Putrid Demise, and 6 points in Dominion of Rot. We have 18 points in the Lich, with 8 points in Crippling Insight, 3 points in Wraithbringer, and 7 points in Desolation. And then for Necromancer, our master class, we have 66 points. We have 7 points in Risen Army, 5 points in Grave Thorns, 8 points in Blood Armor, 10 points in Mortal Tether, 5 points in Reclamation of Souls, 3 points in Putrid Retribution, 1 point in Unbound Necromancy, 1 point in Wisp Reaver, 3 points in Frantic Summons, 5 points in River of Bones, 10 points in Heresy, 1 point in Tyrant, 3 points in Cling to Life, and 4 points in Empty the Graves. For items, there are 2 types of idols that you want to run. You can run the Putrid Wrath and you can run the Flame Wrath. Now, as long as you have a 100% chance, you'll have all of your normal wraiths either turned into Putrid or into a Flame. In our case, we went for 100% poison or putrid wraiths, and we would switch here and there as we got bored. It didn't really matter for survivability which one you went for, but if you were in a map where the reflect damage wasn't doing too much damage, switching to the putrid wrath allows you to get 80 or 90 stacks per attack of poison on the enemy, especially single targets, and it made them really easy to kill. For weapons, you can run any weapon that you want. The one that we chose was just to have our minions leech back 10% of the damage they dealt by their spells and bow attacks. For this one, it didn't really do us any good, although the Putrid Rays, supposedly it's a spell that they're casting, so it allowed for them to get a lot of that back. We know the Flame Rays were doing Fireball, so they'd get some life back. It wasn't super helpful, it's only 10% and their hit damage was pretty much garbage. For the gear, we went with a lot more minion health regen and a lot less minion health. And then on this, we also added in a lot of dodge, so we threw in some minion dodge, some dodge for us, and then on the chest and the helm, you want that damage to minions reflected back to the attackers. On our helm, you can see that we have minion dodge instead of minion health. For our 4 set jewelry pieces, we went with set dodge, and we went for minion health regen. So we did lose some int on this build, but it's still, you're going to get more than enough ward that you need. For the catalyst, we're still running the minion health, minion regen, and minion damage. For the belt, we have minion health regen, the boots minion health regen, lots of int. Gloves are the same. The other ring, like we said, we have set dodge on all 4 pieces. We have some intelligence going. And then we just kind of lost out on all of the minion health and went with minion dodge in that spot instead. For our character sheet, you can see that we are running pretty much no defenses at all. There's a little bit that you get here and there from some things. We're running really high dodge. We did get 100% glancing blow. The final glancing blow came from 2 of these 1x2 idols. Our damage is garbage, but as you can see for minion stats, we have that 2000% minion health regen, and this is what's going to allow you to get that maximum amount of raise. The higher you can get this percentage, the more raise you're going to have. The increased minion health really helps with the skeletons and the skeleton death knights with survivability, so we did get some of it, but you don't need too much of it. The rays are the main thing that you want, and the more of them you have, the more of them that you can sacrifice, the more of them that die, the more damage that was done, the more enemies that die from it. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and give you guys some gameplay.